Gillian Joseph, welcome to Global Woman. It's a great honor to have you here, and we're very excited to be able to learn from you. And thank you for finding the time. I know you're very busy, especially at this moment where everybody's talking about coronation, especially in your world. I believe you don't have time, but thank you for giving us your time. We don't take it for granted. It's a great pleasure to have you here. So where do we start? Gillian, I know for every success, there is a beginning. There is sometimes we see people like you and think, oh yeah, but we forget that there was a beginning for you as well. And it was not ready for you. It was not put in the table, say, hey, do you like this? Would you like to do this? Tell us, where did it start and what moved you to this journey?
Well, first of all, thank you for the comparison to Oprah. I've never had that.
Well, absolutely.
I've met her, but that's as far as it goes. So I feel
amazing. We love Oprah and we love you.
Even to be compared to her. So yes, I mean, where did it all start? I think probably with my mother, actually, who I think instilled in me values of wanting to be the best. I think coming from an immigrant family in the UK, you know that, well, it was instilled in me that you have to work twice as hard. Actually, my mum used to say 10 times as hard, just to even be considered on the same level. So you really have to be entrenched in excellence and you have to want to be the best. And that comes with hard work. And my mother was an extremely hardworking woman. She was a headmistress. And as you can imagine, a real disciplinarian. So very strict, but in equal measure, very loving. So I had that foundation with my family to be able to go forth and be the best person that I possibly could be and be the most professional, the most accomplished in whatever field I sought to develop in. So I think that's my foundation. And I was naturally leaning towards the arts rather than the sciences. I didn't have a mathematical brain. I still don't have a mathematical brain. So I knew that I wanted to do something in the arts. And I wrote well. I was great at storytelling. So initially I thought, oh, I'll be an author. And then I thought, well, actually, that's quite difficult, because if the idea doesn't come to you, and you're staring at a blank page, you know, that could be quite a challenging career to always come up with material. And then my lazy element thought, oh, well, what about journalism? Because the story is there for you. And then it's your interpretation and your storytelling skills that you have to employ. And so then, you know, that's what I pursued from a very, very young age, actually, and really driven by my family and predominantly my mum.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting how we always see inspirational people who have somehow impacted us to follow a path. And then we connect the dots and we say, wow, if it was not for my mom or if it was not for this. So there is always an inspirational figure behind. And it's great to hear how your mother inspired you. So thank you so much for sharing that. So today we, as you know, you are in a room with women who are entrepreneurs, female founders, business owners, very driven, very conscious. And we are very aware that no matter what is the career path that we decide to follow, it is for us to show up. It is for us to make sure that people get to know who we are, people get to know what is our mission, what is our purpose, especially in the entrepreneurial world. It's very important that we learn how to gain that visibility, how to gain that exposure. And you are a master of communication and you interview people every single day. So would you be able to share with us some ideas or tips what it takes for a woman entrepreneur to maximize her visibility and to gain that confidence for that exposure that she needs and she deserves for her business?
Yes, well, I think it's probably easier now with the advent of social media. And I think that must play a very, very large part in anyone wanting to increase their profile via the media. Make use of it. I myself, actually, I'm really giving advice that I don't probably take enough myself, but use social media. You should be on it every day. You should be posting about whatever your expertise is, growing a following so that people come to know you in that arena for your expertise. You should offer yourself up as an expert in whatever the field is, so that, you know, when organizations are looking for a spokesperson on a particular subject or looking at covering an area, that your name is the name that they go to because you become known. I mean, I know that your organization talks about empowering women by giving them a microphone, and that is so true. And that is something that, if you are looking to increase your media profile, you need to be versed in. So I would say you need to practice. And it might not be a massive event like a global women event initially. It might be in front of your mirror. Sit in front of your mirror and run through your spiel, what you would want to say in an interview, what points you'd want to get across. Think about how you appear, your confidence level, your fluency. Practice, and practice simply makes perfect, as we all know. So I think it's really important to be the full package, and to be able to, if it's a product that you're wanting to introduce the world to, knowing the ins and outs of the product, but also having a bit of a human face, so that you're able to share a little bit about yourself, because people are interested in items and products, but they're also interested in you, and what you bring to the table. And, you know, there might be something a little quirky about you. You might have green hair, or, you know, you just might have a different air about you. And I think that makes you stand out, and that's your unique selling point. And, you know, so don't be frightened to be yourself, because that's often what people want to see.
Oh, thank you so much, because you're making it very easy for us, Gillian. But sometimes, and I was in that place where I used to have that belief that, I even don't try, it's not going to work. And I think I missed many opportunities because I didn't try. I even didn't have the confidence to try to, like, at least to invite somebody to my event, or to invite somebody to my podcast, let's say, or to send an email to a journalist, say, hey, this is what I do. It's because we lack that confidence that it's going to happen. But you're saying you never know, and you have to practice. And you may be surprised how you build this relationship easier than you think. Now, when you are building this relationship with different potential interviewees, what is the sparkle? What is something that you say, yes, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for?
In terms of how you present yourself
yes,
just somebody who is absolutely enthused by their subject matter, really excited about being there, about showing up, about what they have to offer, whatever it is, themselves or a product or whatever. Just enthusiasm is intoxicating. When someone's really excited about themselves or their product, you also share that excitement, because it's like they pass the baton on to you, even if it's nothing to do with you and you have no self-interest in that particular thing, because they are so excited about it. It is infectious. So really love what you are selling, or whatever it is, whether it is you or, as I say, a product. So that enthusiasm really carries a long way. And just a vivaciousness, a sense of enjoy of you know what you are and what you're giving.
So you're saying, I mean, I love this. This is amazing what you just shared, because you're saying you are interested in people. And let me give you an example. For example, if somebody would come to you and would just have a script and you're saying this doesn't doesn't attract you at all. But
Not
if somebody is coming with like body language and moving and smiling and showing the energy. So ladies, this is like the thing. Build yourself with lots of energy and excitement. So, and I can see, Gillian, even now that you're sharing, I mean, I can see you radiate, and you're not here to sell us anything, but it is in you. How do we get that? How is that connected? Because I mean, we are here. This is all about thinking big. Is it connected because we don't believe in ourselves, or is it connected with our thoughts, or what is your suggestion? How do we do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is about self-belief, because I think quite often people are passionate about their topic or their product, but they're not able to convey that. Partly sometimes it's because of lack of self-confidence, or sorry, lack of self-confidence, yes, and nerves, because, you know, they might be in an arena that they're not used to. So it's incumbent on the person to realize that they have to overcome that, because it's a block to you exuding that passion if you allow the nerves and the lack of self-confidence to dominate. So I read the other day somebody describing how to deal with, you know, the lack of self-confidence, and they suggested that you get on top of it and you ride the nerves, you conquer the nerves, because actually you do need a little bit of nerves to propel you, and that sometimes is what helps you to perform to your higher standard. A little bit of nerves, but what you mustn't do is let the nerves go over the top where they actually interfere with your message. So you ride the nerves and you conquer them and you get on top of them. And that's when you can then exude that passion. But it's not something that's easily done or done the first time. It's something that you have to be aware of. But a little bit of nerves do help you perform to the best of your capability, but you have to know how to manage.
Well, I believe you as a journalist, that's the first thing probably you had to overcome, because when you are in front of the camera, and this is another thing which I would like you probably to share with us, because one big thing is also nowadays, wherever we put ourselves, is about the video and filming and visuals are a big thing. The text is not enough anymore. So you had to overcome that nerve when you put yourself in front of the camera and making yourself live to the public. Do you have any tip with us? How do we, because I have seen many of our members, they are smart, intelligent, top women. When they put themselves in front of the camera, that nerves block them. Yeah. How do we overcome that?
It is difficult. And if I'm absolutely honest, I'm probably still overcoming it in certain situations. You might not see it, but it's there. So it's about concealing those elements that betray you. So it might be the constant umming. If you're aware of it, then you can counteract it. It might be talking too quickly. If you're aware of it, then you can counteract it. You can breathe. Breathing is very essential. Those deep breaths. So in for 10, hold for 3, out for 10, hold for 3. Do a sequence of that. Breathing is really essential in terms of calming you down before a major address that you might have to do. But really thinking through the fact that everybody you're presenting to is willing you on. They want you to succeed. So even if it's on camera or in a room of people, allow yourself to believe that everybody there wants you to perform well. Everybody there is on your side. And really believe that. In terms of a studio performance, rather than thinking there are millions of people watching this, which they are, and that can be a really daunting thought, you just believe that you're talking to one person, you're having a conversation. The more natural you can feel, the more relaxed you'll be. So I would always say, don't go in with lots of notes that you have to look at and turn pages or read them, because that's so stunting and, you know, very, very unnatural. And you actually can tie yourself up in knots, because if you don't find the point that you're looking for, and then you panic, and then you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to get to this. Don't do that. At the very most, maybe have bullet points, but even that I would suggest not to. You know your subject, you know who you are, you know your product. Have confidence in that, and don't feel tied to written notes or thinking that you can make a mistake. You can't make a mistake. And that is one of the most liberating things, is you cannot make a mistake. That it's about you. There is no wrong and there is no right. But what is essential to get right is how you present yourself and how you convey your message. So I think you just have to free yourself of some of the reins of, you know, this is wrong or this is right. There is no wrong or right, and it's about you, and it's about you presenting your product with confidence and vitality and passion, and that's all there is to it. And if you know your subject, whatever it is, then there isn't a problem. There isn't an issue. It's not a test. It's not an exam. You're not going to fail. You're just going to be you. And I think if you approach it like that, then you know, you'll succeed and you'll be happy with your performance.
Oh, absolutely. I've been writing notes, definitely things to learn and to remember. So you're so right. As human beings, it's normal that we feel these nerves and we feel a bit anxious, but we need to learn and to master how do we hide it in front of the public. Public don't need to know. It's like when you are in the studio, they don't need to know the behind the scenes. How do you do the makeup, and how do you prepare, and how do you rehearse? The most important thing is the stage, the show, the studio. And yeah, as human beings, we all experience that. And I believe also you have interviewed lots of personalities where they come with lots of, you know, with being nervous and anxious, but then you release them, and then, you know, they are live and nobody knows about it. That is one thing. And honestly, you're so right. Don't read. Every time I try to read, that's why I tried not to read your bio today. Every time I try to read, I mess it up. I'm a complete mess up, and I'm not going to try it again. First, because I don't know how to read. My English is not first language. But if I am, like, as you suggested, speaking from my heart, then it's okay if I do some mistakes. That is another takeaway. And once you know your subject, just talk about your subject. You always are in your safe territory.
I just want to correct you there. There are no mistakes. Remember, I said there are no mistakes.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, we may think there are mistakes, and it's okay, but there are no mistakes if you do it from your heart and if you know your subject very well and you feel natural. Oh, that is amazing. Now, here is another thing which I want to learn from you. So many times I've been doing some media training before COVID, and now we started again, just to, simple ones, just to understand how important is the media, the visibility, the exposure, and how important is for us to show up. Because many times I meet women who say, right, I am happy to do everything else, but can I hire somebody to do my social media, to do my media, to do my marketing? And I say, no, you can't, because nobody can replace your face. I mean, you can give a script to somebody, but are you sure they are going to do exactly what you want to do? And that's why this fear is keeping many people, especially female entrepreneurs, who are very, very brave on what they do. They know their subject, but they are really scared and terrified to put themselves consistently out there. Or maybe they think that, oh, I've done it once and that's it. You can't show up only just once a month. It's like you asking Gillian, say, can you read the news once a month? No, you have to do this every single day. So So my question to you is first, where can we boost, how can we maximize the journey to build that confidence to put ourselves out there? Otherwise, how can we get, let's say, a pitch, 1 minute pitch, straight to the point, that makes us feel like, oop, I'm confident, I know I did it right. So how can we memorize that? What would be a 1 minute pitch with a journalist? Let's say it can be here, or probably somebody meets you in the street, or somebody meets you in the elevator, and it's a 1 minute elevator pitch. And what are you looking to hear from someone in 1 minute?
So first of all, ask yourself this question: what is the most exciting, interesting thing that I have to say about myself or the product? What's the most eye-catching fact that you can say in the first sentence in terms of your introduction? That is it. The rest writes itself. The most eye-catching. And sometimes people, they bury the jewel in the midst of the story. So they might leave the most interesting thing for the middle or the end. You don't want to go out with a bang. You want to start with a bang. So that's my first piece of advice. You know, getting press releases. I mean, I get hundreds of press releases all the time. If they don't get me in the first line, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to all the people that have sent me press releases and ideas. First sentence, bang.
We know that, Gillian, we know that.
What's the most interesting thing? And what is going to make me want to cover that as a story? It's really that simple. Really that simple.
Well, it looks simple for you, but yeah, obviously, yeah, it will need some practice for us as well. So yeah, I like that idea that you're encouraging us to just tell about the product, tell about your story. And a story, I think, is another story of it. But how do we balance the need for self-promotion with the risk of coming across as too self-promotional in the media?
Well, for me, I think there's a difference if you haven't got a subject matter and you're just visible. So you're just showing up with actually not very much to say. That, to me, is the side of self-promotion that you don't want to be in that category. So you show up when you have something to say, not just because it's another day, another dollar. It has to be relevant and there has to be a reason, because you don't want to be the type of, they call them media tarts. Are you familiar with that term?
Yes.
They just turn up at the opening of an envelope and don't necessarily have very much substance. So your story dictates, you know, where you show up and how you show up. So you just really need to have something to say. And I think that's when you tell the difference between those with a genuine story and those that are manufacturing for the sake of raising profile.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. That is another thing, which is sometimes it keeps us like, oh, I should be careful. I'm not sure if I have to mention the name of my business or the name of my product. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes if you know how to put that balance right, then it can be in your advantage. So great. So what are some other creative ways to generate media coverage between, let's say, what is the difference between traditional press releases and the media pitches? Or if there is any other way that we can attract the attention of the journalist or build relationship with them? Do you have any other idea? How do we build that?
I wouldn't, you know, speaking to what I was saying before about the, you know, the story being the most important thing, I wouldn't worry so much about building a one-on-one relationship with a journalist, because whether a journalist knows you or not, if you hit them with a hot story, that they're going to take that from somebody they've known for 20 years, or they're going to take that from somebody they've never ever heard of. So as I was saying before, that the story, the hook is the most important thing. Having said that, it's obviously good to have the right emails so you can get straight to the person that you need. And that's only going to come through your own research, so that you do have a straight line to somebody who can make a decision about a story. And that you get to know by, going through the outlets that you would like to see yourself in. So knowing who the editor of whatever magazine or program that you think that would be your natural home, knowing who they are is enough. You don't have to be their best buddy, I would say. But looking at ways of promoting your story or yourself, just think outside of the box. Think of novel ways that you can tell your story. Perhaps you might want to align to a charity and climb a mountain on their behalf. That does good for people, so you're helping people, but also you're getting your name in the frame as well. That might be something that you want to think about. It might be something that you do already, but you don't publicize the fact that you're aligned to a charity. Think about novel ways of launching yourself or your product. An example that I thought of, I won't name a publisher, but a publisher that published a book about gangland warfare. And to launch it, they sent a bullet along with the book to various people. Now that sort of skirted around the areas of legality, and that they might have got themselves into a bit of bother with the police, with the law, which they did. But I wouldn't advocate that particular example. I'm not advocating that at all. But, they did get a lot of interest.
Yes.
It was controversial. So I'm not necessarily saying, court controversy, but think about ways that make people sit up, make people think about, oh, this is different. This is different. And therefore, I want to know a bit more. So think about that. Don't break the law.
So you're saying find the hook. And very interesting, the hot story. Somehow I understand what it means to create a hot story. But I believe every woman in our community has really, really hot story. But how do we put the story in a way that it looks hot for you, journalists? And just so I understand, and we understand in this room, so when we understand that we have a hot story, do we just go and pitch to different journalists? Or do we wait until something happens into the news that is relevant with our story? So is the story always like seasonal and we can decide anytime to approach journalists and send the pitches? Or do we wait for something to happen?
Both. And you need to decide which route you're going to take. There's some stories that are so big that whenever they happen, wherever they happen, they're good to go straight away. There's some things that might be there might be a news peg. So it might be, for instance, say International Day of the Woman, which would be a great day to do a feature on global women. Obviously, that's your peg. It's the actual date in the diary. So therefore, that would be a good idea to do that type of story. You might have to look for a reason on another date to run the same story. So there are some stories that will run whenever. There are others that you would peg to a date in the diary, International Women's Day, as I say, or whatever else. And on those days, you'll probably, if there isn't that big a story, you're probably more likely to hit the news on that particular day because of the date and the significance of the date. And for days like that, you can prepare. So you can offer up your best interviewee on that date. And it can be something that's in the planning diary. So it's something that hasn't just popped up, which, other stories that might be news pegs, they might just pop up on the day, but you can plan for something like that. So that's the advantage of going for something that's that's linked to a particular time, a particular date, a particular moment that you can plan way in advance. And perhaps, you know, rather than just being offering a live interviewee, there can be a recorded package that also goes along with that. So you maybe have someone come out and film, do a story, record that, play that before a live interview. So therefore you get maximum cover.
Excellent. I can see a very interesting question. Is there a preferred way to contact the media other than email? And do you have any tips on how to find contacts beyond LinkedIn and websites?
Yeah, there's always bog standard. People probably don't realise, but you can always get the number for a news desk. And if you've got relevant stories, you can call in, get to know, as I said before, the name of the news editor or the head of planning. That's always a very good contact because they put things in the diary in advance. So just try those methods. Check for contacts on Twitter. When I was much younger and greener, I used to look at the credits for various programs I was interested in, take down the name of the editor, and then, you know, follow them on Twitter. Even maybe get to know a little bit about them. They like this type of story, or, you know, they like that type of story. So yeah, be proactive, and the areas that you're interested in, know who are the gatekeepers in those areas.
Gillian, again, thank you so much.